Oh boy, Pokemon is completely crazy. I think it's lost its mind. I think we have officially lost our minds as Pokemon card collectors. In typical Fanny fashion, I'm going to start off with a little bit of a rant. So if you don't want to listen to me talk about this new CT scanner, fast forward like a few minutes, like 5 minutes maybe, and then we're going to talk about Crown Zenith today and another product that's coming up for Crown Zenith. Singles are getting absolutely hammered right now from Crown Zenith after having a huge like price explosion, manipulation, whatever you want to call it. Crown Zenith was going nuts, and now all this it's gone backwards. But we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. We're going to talk about, I don't want to record an entire video, number one, because I don't like talking based off of emotion. Right now, these first few minutes of this video are very emotion based. Obviously, this new CT scanner that somebody put together, and I don't really have all the details for it because I almost feel kind of dirty watching the details about it. This is newer information. I haven't researched too much about it, but I kind of wanted to get your opinion on it, and I kind of want to touch base and just give you my opinion on it a little bit, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about it because, like I said, it's very emotion based, but I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's unnecessary. I think it's unneeded. I don't see any benefit to having it in the community at all. I don't know how it moves the game forward. I don't know how it moves the hobby forward, and I've seen the arguments, the counter arguments, and how some people might think it's interesting. I don't think it's interesting. I honestly just don't. I don't think it's good for the spirit of the game. I don't think it's great. I think it's good for people who are really just focused about the money side of things, who are really just focused. Let me tell you a story, and this is a bad rant. So when I was like 15 years old, I had my first job. I was working at a movie theater. Here was little Fanny, just popping some popcorn, and I would have to take a state required break. I would have to take 30 minutes of a break, unpaid, in the middle of my shift. So what I would do, and nobody knew that I collected Pokemon cards at the time because I wanted to be cool, and I thought it was cool. It was not cool, I thought, to collect Pokemon cards. Really, I already wasn't cool, so it didn't really matter. But I would punch out for my 30 minutes, and I would sneak out the back door, and I would literally, no joke, sprint to a Target store that was about half a mile away, because I only had 30 minutes. And I would buy packs of Pokemon cards, sprint back, and then I would sneak into a movie on my break, and I would open these up chasing something. Chasing a hologram. I don't even remember what sets it was at the time when I was 15. It was probably like Diamond and Pearl or something from Heart Gold Soul Silver. I don't remember what it was, but I was always chasing something. It didn't really matter what. I just loved the idea of opening up booster packs, chasing my favorite Pokemon, my favorite artwork, my favorite whatever, and it was really just that passion that kind of drove me forward. I didn't have like this giant community of people around me who did the same things. I went online, I joined forums, I talked to friends that I made around the world who also probably didn't take it to that extreme, but enjoyed the idea of collecting Pokemon cards, whether it be collecting. I remember playing on an old app called Apprentice, learning how to play the Pokemon trading card game better. I would play on that all the time this was even before PTCGO came out a long time ago. And that feeling as a collector it's something that I'm always going to chase. It's something that's going to hang with me forever. And now the idea behind money and the idea behind making money on Pokemon cards, well, it's great, and I understand the whole, like, we're humans, right? We need money to survive. As a business owner, I need money. Like, I need it. Like, I'm going to buy Pokemon cards at X price and sell them at Y price. That's part of being a business. But at the same time, the idea of, I don't even know how to phrase it, the breaking what Pokemon is all about in order to, I guess, manipulate the way that you make them. I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me. And like I said, I am very based off of emotion right now, and I have not given it due diligence as far as time invested into it. But at the same time, I just don't want to invest time into it because it's not something that's cool to me. It's not something that's great to me. The idea of scanning a product, a booster pack, and determining what card is in there, in that rare slot, to me takes the fun out of everything that Pokemon has ever stood for. And there's more than just that card in the pack, right? There's more than just that holographic rare or potential of a holographic rare in there. And this has been an issue with Pokemon for a long time, and that's why you used to have people who would like take a little scale to the store and they would weigh packs to see if they could find a holo. And finally, Pokemon was supposedly fixing that with the release of Sun and Moon because they would have varying weights on their code cards, which kind of eliminated that. But the idea of being able to scan, X-ray scan something to determine what's inside, to me, there's no space for that in the hobby. And for me, my thought process is, I understand, like, oh, it's a cool idea, you thought of a cool idea, but eventually you have to be like, this is a cool idea, and it's something that's cool, but it shouldn't exist. Like, it's just not something that should exist. Like, it would be cool to be an option, but at the same time, it would ruin things in the community. So I'm not going to do it. That's just, like, the way that my brain works behind it, and I don't think it's great. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be utilized a lot, especially not with modern cards, because modern Pokemon cards, modern booster packs, modern booster boxes, and things like that, like they don't have the potential for that first edition Charizard, and the price point on it right now is obviously substantial. But the only people who are really going to utilize this, in my mind, are the people who are really looking to see, as far as value goes, money. Like, it's just money related. And then there's not a lot of people who are really cracking old vintage stuff anymore and things like that, especially not for the average collector. But to me, it's one of those things that, like, it just never should have been brought, like, it just never should have been brought into circulation. You could say, Fanny, you need to calm down, you're not thinking this through, here's the benefits of it. And I'm very curious to see what the benefits are of it, because I have looked and I do not see any benefits of it, to be honest with you. I think it hurts the game, it hurts the collecting space in the long haul. If you're somebody who has chased a first edition booster pack for a long time and you want a truly unweighed, unsearched booster pack, well, now it's like, where can you even get something like that? Because if the whole box can be scanned, I mean, that one Charizard pack, or potentially two, could have been plopped out, and then everything else, while it's unweighed, like the Charizard may have been taken out already, which is frustrating. Like, how do you even move forward as a collector in the space if that's an ultimate chase of yours? And that's not an ultimate chase for a lot of people. I get that, but at the same time, I just think it's sus to me. Like, that's all there is to it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. That was a little bit more than 5 minutes, so I'm done with it. You can let me know what your thoughts are. I don't like it. Simple. Like, I just don't like it. Anyways, we're going to talk about Crown Zenith, and the reason we're going to talk about what kind of triggered this is obviously the market is collapsing, first of all. So I'm going to flip you guys around real quick. The market is collapsing in a lot of different areas, which is great. Like, obviously, there was a lot of manipulation going on. There's a lot of weird stuff happening in the Pokemon TCG space, especially when it came to TCG player and prices. While they didn't line up with eBay, were being manipulated. It was weird. It was weird. It gave you that dirty feeling that I was just talking about recently. It was very, very strange. But Crown Zenith is coming out with another product. like it came out a year and a half ago, a little bit over a year and a half ago, in January of 2023. But there is a new product. This is a slapping product. Like, we throw the word slapping around too much probably right now. But this is the Crown Zenith Sea and Sky Premium Collection that will be releasing exclusively at Sam's Club stores in the US for $39.98. So $40. Now, that's important because it comes with 14 Crown Zenith booster packs. 14 at $39.98. That is less than $3 per booster pack retail price. Now, this is not something that's going to be offered to LGSs, so your LGS isn't going to be able to get something like this. You're not going to be able to find this walking into Target. This is going to be exclusive to Sam's Club. This is going to be a problem. Probably it's going to be scalped because $3 for a booster pack in Crown Zenith is at the point right now where it's been out long enough that sealed product has started to rise a little bit. We'll look at that in just a second here. But here we are a year and a half later. It almost feels like Crown Zenith got overproduced, and we've already talked about this before because there were so many Crown Zenith products that came out, and it was like released for a very, very long time. Like, Pokemon made a bajillion booster packs, and they're like, well, we'll keep putting in products. Okay, we've got tons left over. Let's reprint the Elite Trainer boxes. Okay, let's reprint the mini tins, and now we're going to just create a new product. Like, they had that GameStop product for a little while that they kind of created out of nowhere, and now they're like, well, let's create a new product because we've got so many Crown Zenith product packs left over. Let's make this Sea and Sky Premium Collection, and we'll give it exclusively to Sam's Club, which is crazy. $39.98. That's a steal. That is a killer deal, because Crown Zenith is a fantastic set. It's going to be a lot of fun for people to open for quite some time, but because of this, and not directly because of this, mostly because of other things, Crown Zenith has dropped a lot. This is the Elite Trainer box right here. So we're looking at the last 3 months. We're only looking at really the last 3 months of data because this is when all the action has happened. This is when a lot of weird action has happened. So the Elite Trainer box not doing too bad. It's still up about 8%, almost 9% over the past 3 months, sitting at $47.14 currently. That is down below MSRP. $39.99. It was the MSRP price for a regular ETB, but this was a specialty set, so I believe MSRP for this one one was $49.99 because it comes with 10 booster packs as opposed to the other normal Elite Trainer boxes, which came with 8 during the Sword and Shield era, and this is the last product from Sword and Shield. So a little bit below MSRP at $47.14. It was a little bit above MSRP at $52.94 recently, but you can see it did move up a lot in price starting in the middle of May at $43.42. That's where its low point was, and then it saw some unnatural growth real quickly. A lot of attention got paid to it. Same thing with the booster packs. Booster packs, loose packs themselves are doing extremely well and continuing to trend upward. This is going to get hurt by the release of that new product. There is no way that it doesn't get hurt. When you have booster packs hit the market that are on average are under $3 per booster pack, this is going to come down in price. So you are still going to have a shot at getting Crown Zenith booster packs cheap, like way cheaper than this, at least in my opinion. $4.33 was where it was sitting at the end of May, middle of May, all the way up till the end of May, and then we saw some growth quite a bit as more and more Crown Zenith products got bought up at distribution. Distribution is very, very low now on Crown Zenith product. The last time I looked, they had like the more Pecco boxes, the playmat boxes, and that was it. That was it. They used to have Elite Trainer boxes, mini tins, like a month ago, and then all those got bought up as Crown Zenith started to rise and continued to climb. There was still quite a bit of availability in stock for Crown Zenith, and then once it started climbing up, it got bought up like crazy. But it jumped up to $5.66 recently. There's still a lot of sealed product out there for Crown Zenith, so be careful how much you spend. Like if you want to crack Crown Zenith, be patient. Like that's the big thing about Crown Zenith, because there is still a lot of it out there, especially when it comes to sealed booster packs, sealed product, things like that. $5.47 is where it's currently sitting, about 26% growth over the past 3 months, which is insane. But if you look at the singles market for Crown Zenith, they have been absolutely destroyed for the most part. Some of them that clearly were not manipulated are doing okay, but cards like this Gutina VAR, for example, like look at how far this card has dropped. Now it's still up 22% over the past 3 months, because if you look at where it was on April 29th, it was sitting at $83.80, but at one point in time it had jumped all the way up over the course of 1 month. Over the course of 1 month, it jumped up over $50, and it jumped up to $137.19. So that was about 40% growth in the span of a month, which is insane, unheard of. Obviously, something weird was happening. You could look at TCG player sales, and it was very strange the amount of singles for this specific card that were selling on a daily basis. It was completely different than what the Pokemon trading card community is used to on the amount of products that are moving on a daily basis. Now it's backed off a lot. The attention isn't there as much. Attention has moved, and I think for the most part, like pat on the back for a lot of you guys, a lot of the Pokemon card collectors, because they just didn't buy them then. They were like, nope, this card is too expensive, not going to FOMO, I'm not paying attention to this, I'm moving on to something else. I'm going to look at illustration rares, I'm going to look at art rares, I'm going to move over to Japanese booster boxes because they just reprinted a heck ton of those. I'm just going to focus on that instead, or I'm going to do something completely different. Because of that, the race to the bottom has ensued, and cards like the Gutina VAR has dropped quite a bit. So it's sitting at 102.47, still well above where it was at the end of April when it was sitting at 83.80, but it's dropped $35 over the past month and a half. So definitely trending in the downward direction. Same thing with the Arcus V Star. End of April, this was sitting at $57.55. It jumped up over $40 over the course of 2 weeks. Jumped up way to $99.70. Almost hit that $100 mark, and the bottom fell out really quickly. You can see in the middle of June, it was all the way back down to $70. So it lost almost $30 in the course of like 10 days, 12 days, and then started dropping a little bit more slowly. Now it's sitting at $68.92, but continuing to trend down. Here's the Mewtwo V Star, beautiful card. One of my favorite artworks in Crown Zenith. It's just absolutely amazing. The battle with Charizard right there is, I mean, you can't beat that artwork, and that's what's so great about Crown Zenith is you cannot beat the artwork. So as long as the cards stay relatively inexpensive and the booster packs stay relatively inexpensive, it's going to be a fun set to crack for a very, very long time. But this was abnormal growth at the end of April right here when it was sitting at $45.78. It jumped up almost $30 over the span of a week and a half, hit $73.59. Now it's still up over 17% over the past 3 months, but look at how far it has fallen. It was $73.59. Now it's lost $20 of that, so it's only about $8 above, only about 20% above where it was in April, which is still a large percentage, but when you look at it in the grand scheme of things of what's been happening over the last 3 months, like definitely coming back down down to earth, which is awesome to see. Sitting at $53.58 currently, and again trending downward. Same thing with the Palia V-Star. This had a very substantial growth pattern and then a very substantial dip, topping out at $69.38, which was about $30 above where it was sitting a month prior to its high, and then fell apart real quickly in the middle of June. It was all the way down to about $50, and it's been staying relatively at that point, relatively steady over the past month and a half now, sitting at $48.68. But we are again back at the day where you see the Palia V-Star sub $50 for this gold card. Same thing with the Diga V-Star right here. This was down to $44.76. Now it's only about 10% higher than that, which is really great to see considering the fact that it had jumped up almost $20, almost 40% over the course of a month, jumped up to $63.17. And now this has been more steady decline over the past couple months here. It's been more consistent, falling down to $49.72, which is only about $5 above where it was only 3 months ago. Here's the Leafeon V-Star. This card was bought up at a certain price and just has been able to withstand the test of time, unlike these other ones that we looked at. This one continues to climb. This one has gained almost 70% over the past 3 months, and that just goes to show you the demand of this card. There's cards every once in a while that do get bought out that continue to do well, simply because you call it more of a market correction in those instances, because maybe that card was in demand enough that people were willing to pay a more expensive price for, and they just didn't realize it because they were focusing on something else. Middle of May, this was sitting at $17.31, and you can see it's been steadily climbing ever since then. Like I said, almost up 70%, sitting at $29.34 right now, but continuing to trend upward. You're not seeing those dips like what we saw with the last cards that we looked at. Glacial V-Star not being as lucky. Now this card blew up a lot more, and maybe the Leafeon V-Star didn't quite get manipulated as much as some of these other cards, because you look at the Glacial V-Star right here, and this card had jumped all the way up to $43.57. So basically almost $30 that it gained over the course of a month. Middle of May, sitting at $16.87. End of May, jumped up to $43.57, and now it's completely fallen apart. You can see in the end of June, right there on June 26th, it dropped below $30 and then climbed back up a little bit, but now it's come back down again, sitting at $27.32. So again, still up quite a bit. It's up 50% over the last 3 months, but it hasn't tripled in price. It almost tripled in price from $16.85 up to that $43.57. So it has come back down quite a bit, which is great to see. The Irida has not done well. A lot of these full art supporters from Crown Zenith, whether it be from the Galarian Gallery or from the actual normal set, this one didn't necessarily get bought out a lot, but it's dropped a lot substantially over the past 3 months. You can see almost 25% as far as the price drop goes. At the end of April, it was sitting right around $14. It did grow a little bit, jumped up to $16.79, but now it's lost a lot. I mean, you're looking at 25% is a lot, especially when you have numbers like this in the $10, $12, $15 range, dropped down to $11.65, but continuing to fall further and further down. You could see single digits for this card at some point, especially once that additional product comes. Here's the Suun V. This one has leveled off quite a bit, but it did jump up substantially from about $15, $16.27 as its 3-month low, jumped up to $30.37. Sat there for a minute and then just fell apart, dropped all the way down to $21.12. It's lost about $9, about 33% of its value over the past month and a half. Still about $5 above where it was when it started its ascent, but definitely continuing to trend in the downward direction, which is great to see. Same thing with the Raichu V. This one's only a few dollars above where it was at the end of April. The end of April was at $15.56, jumped up about $9, which is very, very strong growth over the course of a month from April 27th up to May 27th. And then it's been steadily trending downward over the past 2 months now, sitting at $18.43, so only a few dollars above where it was. Here's the Hisuian Zoro V-Star. This card did not really go through a buyout phase. It's still relatively inexpensive. It's about 14% above where it was 3 months ago, sitting at $14.95 currently. At one point in time, it was sitting at $16.45, so not a whole lot of difference here in this one. Beautiful artwork. Love that one. Alessa Sparkle. This one has fallen apart a little bit. It did move up a little bit. It was sitting around $16, $15.75 was its low point at the beginning of May. Jumped up quite a bit, $18.65, so large percentage, small dollar value, because it's not a super expensive card. For the longest time, Alessa Sparkle was hovering right around that $30 mark. But like I said, a lot of these Galarian Gallery and normal trainers, full art trainers from Crown Zenith, even though the artwork is sublime, it's beautiful, not doing very, very well. It's dropped down to $15.81. So basically, it's at its 3-month low point right now, which is basically an all-time low for this card. And the last one that we're going to look at is the Secret Rare Pikachu. Beautiful artwork, super inexpensive right now. It had jumped up quite a bit. You can see it was stable around $7, $7.95 at the end of April, and it had been at that point for quite some time. Jumped all the way up to $12.80, which may not seem like a huge gain, but when you're talking about a card that starts out at $7 to almost double in price, that is very substantial. Imagine if you took all of your cards right now, scanned them into the collector app or to Rare Candy app or whatever app it is you use right now, and you come up with a total of like $3,000. And then over the course of a week, it doubles in price up to $6,000. Like, you're going to be really happy with how much your cards have gained value, but then to lose it all a week later, it's absolutely insane. So now it's all the way back down to $7.95 from where it was $7.38. So it jumped up about $5.50, and now it's lost all of it, which is absolutely crazy. The market is changing like crazy. People ask, well, how do you buy a collection? Right now, the market is so volatile. It's tough. Like, it's very, very tough. So it's so important to be careful, not FOMO in these situations. Maybe adjust your thinking pattern a little bit so you can make the best decision when it comes to your collection dollars. This is your money. Like, how you spend it is really, really important because you like the hobby. You want to stay in the hobby. Don't pay attention to all of the money side of things. Don't pay attention to all the noise. Like, we're going to have weird things that happen in the hobby, but stick to what's true to you, what's important to you. That's really all that matters. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video, listen to the video, whatever it is that you did. I appreciate you being here. So thank you so much. I love you guys. We'll be back again in a couple days with another video. Until next time, peace.